I don't know why I love this movie so much. I just do. I think a lot of people hate M. Night Shyamalan's movies because they're so weird, or there was really high expectations because of when he dropped the Sixth Sense on everybody. Obviously, Signs is another freaking amazing movie. So he always has to have these movies with these like weird concepts, and the concept for this movie, I just cling to it. I think it's a cool.
So get your voice back, and welcome back to Movie Dads Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Howie.
I'm Kyle.
And that is Kyle. We are back from a 2-week off hiatus. Movie Dads had some personal matters to attend to, so we had to take the week off. Longest stretch I think we've gone. Oof. Let's see if we can get back in the old saddle.
It's funny because we were just talking in our last episode about like, we only had to take this many days off, and then we're taking a break. So
yeah, we had our anniversary episode. We talked about how we're now consistently releasing episodes every Wednesday morning.
God damn it.
And we hey, life happens. This is a hobby podcast. We're not making any money. Yeah, we just hit the 1 year mark, right? And so all of the things that I paid for this renewed, and I was like, I forgot about all that. That's fun.
Oh shoot, you'll have to send me
it's exciting
on that.
Anyway, we're back for episode number 45. The I Can't Believe You Haven't Seen It, Howie. The 2006 M. Night Shyamalan fantasy psychological thriller,
Classic.
Lady in the Water. Lady in the Water.
Classic.
I did forget it. I forgot all about it. Lady in the Water.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But before that, if you're watching us on YouTube, please click that like and subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Click the bell so you get notifications on when new episodes come out. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you can listen to us on many different podcast networks. I'm not going to list them anymore because we are now on not just Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're also on iHeartRadio and Amazon Music and like every other podcast service you can find.
iHeartRadio, look at us. We made it. We got called up to the big leagues. Big dog.
We're on all of them. We're on all of them now. Anyway,
did something change or why did we get moved?
I signed us up for everything now. Yeah, it's just change in service.
You never talk to me about these things. Damn it.
We're on all of them. Is it
okay if I show up?
Is it okay if I list us on all those? Is that all right?
I meant more of like, never mind. This is off the pod stuff.
Well, that happened last week and you were busy. It's true. We're there. Anyway, that's where we're at. But we're movie dads. We've got movie kids. Well, 2 weeks worth of stuff. First thing I got to talk about is I work in small towns, right? Like I travel a lot and whatnot. So I found this comic shop in Walnut, Iowa called Second Impressions. And I was like, I'm going to go in and check this place out. And I spent a little bit of time in there, looked around, found some cool comic books and whatnot. But then the next day I took Reagan. She was on spring break and I was like, you're going to go with me to work and we're going to go check this place out. So we went to this comic shop, and then across the street is like a game and record store and toy shop. And I got done working, we kind of went out and I bought a whole bunch of comics. She bought some records. We looked at a whole bunch of old toys. And listen, these are in like an antique town. I got some really awesome comics for some really great prices. So her and I hung out and did that.
What'd you get? What was your jewel?
What did I get?
Let's see. Crown achievement.
I got probably the best issue I got was Amazing Spider-Man 361, which is the first appearance of Carnage.
Oh, I was say, is that the Venom one or Black?
No, I wish Venom, that's my like dream comic book is Amazing Spider-Man 300, first appearance of Venom. But I did get the like facsimile issue of that. Yeah, it's actually right there. Right there. I put that on the shelf with my Venom figure.
Dope.
But I also got like, let's see, they're right here. Uncanny X-Men 221, which is the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Uncanny X-Men 266, which is the first appearance of Gambit.
Dude, we're like in this X-Men zone right now.
I am so in the zone, and we're going to talk about that during 6 to Midnight.
Nice.
And then I got X Factor number 5 and 6, which is First Apocalypse. So I got some pretty cool first appearance issues.
Dope.
And I've kind of, it's kind of got this itch that I used to have as a kid. Like it started scratching it again.
And you have to get a figure with them as well.
I did. Yeah,
So
I did. They
it's
all,
it's
it's
double
pretty
trouble.
anyway, and then gosh, I know I'm gonna add more to it, but like kids and I are almost done with the base quest book of Hero Quest because we've been playing
cool
every so often. We play like once a week or so, and we're at the end. And it was funny, we were playing the last quest and we're sitting there and Des is like, Dad, I hope I get to play this with my kids when I'm older. And I'm like, yep, exactly.
So, boy.
Yeah, that was
amazing.
It. 2 weeks worth of awesome kid stuff. So
I told you I was at in a wedding party like a couple weeks ago, and someone had brought up, they were like fucking nerding out about Hero Quest. They busted out like their own travel dice. I don't know if that's a thing for Hero Quest, but they were like, we brought Hero Quest for our thing. So love that. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned last week was a little crazy. We had a little bit of family tragedy. We lost a grandma last week. So Steph was out of the house, obviously, with family. I was solo dolo with our 3 boys, and I'm losing my voice, as you can hear. I'm losing my mind.
I'm losing my sanity.
We had to take a break. Obviously, there was a ton of stuff going on, but yeah, so I've just been trying to survive with the kids at home, getting them to school on time, keeping them alive, keeping them fed. It's been tough. So, but we made it. We made it through. I don't really think I have anything other crazy other than that of just us 3, me and the 3 boys just surviving over here. So, but yeah, I mean, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. So let's jump into my most excited segment of the pod, our 6 to midnight. This is the part of the episode where we talk about things that excite us, things that get us up in the morning. Whether it's new news, some nerdy book we're reading, a new video game, or a whole bunch of movie info that released at a big giant event. So I'll jump into it. One little follow-up for which I believe is right now ranked the #1 show on Prime. They've already renewed for season 2. The show Fallout dropped, and I had said this from just watching the trailer, but now I've seen the show. Like, my mind is blown because this show it's so faithful to the world of Fallout in terms of like just what everything looks like, the vibe for it, this post-apocalyptic world. It's a direct adaptation, not of a specific story. So it's in its own town or city and area. It's in the same, Todd Howard did confirm it is in the same universe and timeline as the video games, but it's like a perfect companion piece. It's doing everything right that the Halo show is doing wrong. Like, I don't know if you've watched any of the Halo show.
I watched the first season. I haven't touched the second season.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell you what happened in the first season.
Dude, so
I think I kept falling asleep and shit watching that show.
It's not to digress from Fallout, but that show, so many of us nerds, like, Halo is like a crucial video game in the pantheon of video games for a lot of gamers. And so when they were coming out, the show was so juiced because the trailers made it look cool, looked directly like it looks like in the game. And then we got the show and it was nothing like anything in the Halo games. Master Chief, who is known for like 12 games, never taking his helmet off. His helmet comes off in the first 5 seconds of the show and it like never goes back on. So people don't like that Halo show because of that. It's like Boba Fett. Like, why don't you have your fucking helmet on, guy? That's what you're known for.
you know, and like the Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal's the freaking plays, you know, the Mandalorian, and like he's taken it off like 3 times total
Yeah,
in
and
that freaking show.
and they make a big deal about
They
it.
do. They make a big deal about it every time, but at least it's mostly faithful.
Well, and to be honest with you, I think Mando's story was originally what they were
Yes.
going to do Boba Fett. And then they
Mhm.
switched it to Mando so that they weren't tied to having to like retcon or connect it. So originally, like Mandalorian is the Boba Fett show we always wanted, but it's not Boba Fett. And then they brought
Right.
Boba Fett back and he obviously sucked. So anyways, Fallout is awesome. I'm really liking it because it is very similar, like the stories, the things that are going on in the world, the
Mhm.
wacky, weird zaniness of it. It's super gory. It's over the top. I liked it. You had mentioned that you're watching it.
I started it.
What are your thoughts?
I'm 2 episodes in. I've been busy too. I've been trying to do a bunch of other things. But it's okay. I didn't play the games. I'm not super into it. It's weird. And it's entertaining, but I guess I'm not like, I know the critical reception's pretty outstanding, and I'm just like, I'm hoping it gets better. That's all. I mean, it's not bad. I just hope it gets better.
Yeah. When because you kind of mentioned that a tiny bit before we jumped on, and I thought like it was, oh, that's a perspective that I didn't even think about. Like, what about people who have never played Fallout, who don't like, I mean, don't generally know. I mean, you know what's going on, obviously, but like, it for me. I'm like, oh my god, this is the game is a real show, and if you don't play it, then I can see that. So, the other thing that's been kind of interesting is they've been posting stats of like Fallout 4, which was the last like game they came out with. Fallout 76 came out, but that's like an online MMO thing they tried and it's fucking horrible. But Fallout 4 was like the last real big Fallout game that came out. And they said like purchases and downloads and streams are up like 7,500%, like some like crazy number of like what it was before the show came out. Basically everyone's going back and playing Fallout 4. Guilty. I did the exact same thing right after watching. So
Sure.
but yeah, it's I like it. You clearly, it's maybe not your cup of tea, and that's
I'm just not there yet, right? Like, I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish the season. I'm not like rushing to binge through all 8 episodes. It's not to the point where it's like, I have to finish this now. So
yeah. All right. Well, I can respect that. If you are a non-Fallout player and you watch the show, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Let us know. Nope, too weird, too zany, or like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then one other nerdy thing that has just been like I stumbled upon and just have dove in the last couple of days is there is, which I think you will love this because it is right up your alley.
right.
It's a Star Wars Legends story or book that came out called Star Wars Death Troopers. Now, it is literally like Star Wars meets the original movie Alien meets the video game Dead Space. Like it's basically like I don't want to say zombie stormtroopers, but eventually that's kind of what you get to. But it's a horror story set in the Star Wars world. It's set right before the time of A New Hope, so like that kind of Empire timeline. But basically, there's like a prison ship way out in the far reaches of the galaxy that stumbles upon a like derelict. Oh gosh, why can't I think of the Star Destroyer? Like just a derelict Star Destroyer, Empire Star Destroyer out in the middle of space where there's like 5 life signs on it. And there's supposed to be like 10,000. So, anyways, they go on the ship. It's a derelict, creepy, scary horror movie horror story. That just it's super creepy, it's super scary. It's a very different take on the Star Wars world, but I think in like Halloween season would be really good for you to jump into.
No. Yeah.
I'm listening to the audiobook right now, so I'm almost done with it. But it's great. I kind of found it because there was some modder made a video game where you can go and actually like play. It's very like Resident Evil, Dead Space. You're like creeping around a Star Destroyer that's pitch black and monster stormtroopers and just ugly freaking like the thing.
I think you and I've talked about this, like when we talked about like Star Wars Battlefront when they were re-releasing it for come out, and it turns out that wasn't very good. But like Star Wars doesn't always have to be about fucking Jedi. Like you can do different stuff, make different video games. It doesn't have to be Jedi Knight or Jedi Outcast or it doesn't always have to be that. Give us more different stories. Like, could you imagine if a game like Helldivers was about stormtroopers?
Dude,
like, let's take my money. Like, I would love to see more of that stuff. You have an entire universe worth of things to talk about. Create the horror games, create the action games that are like that. You can make them for adults. It's okay. The people that grew up watching Star Wars are in their 40s and 30s now. It's okay. You can do it.
It doesn't have to be.
You can do it.
I agree wholeheartedly, which is why I think I was just enjoying this book so much, is because it was just like, this is such a different setting and concept of like the Star Wars world, but like checking all of the horror and scary boxes of like creepy derelict spaceship out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just Star Wars version. So super cool. Han Solo and Chewbacca do make an appearance in it, which I thought was cool. That was like cool, but they're on a prison ship and there's some convicts there, and they might just be two lovable scoundrels that we know. So, okay, I know you've got a lot. Let's dive in.
We got 2 weeks worth of stuff. So, we're going to start with Cinemacon, because Cinemacon was not last week, but the week prior in Vegas. And Cinemacon, we've talked about it, I think, a year ago on an episode where it's like the big convention that movie studios have for like theater companies, right? Like AMC and Regal and Cinemark, Marcus, all those guys. So it's basically like, this is what's coming out. This is what's coming up. So you guys get excited, right? Like, this is what's coming out for your theaters. So some of the things that we got out of that, and I just wrote down a couple that I wanted to talk about, because most of it was like things we already knew about. So I wasn't going to talk about like, oh, there was a big sizzle reel about Deadpool and Wolverine that talked about this. Well, guess what? We're going to talk about the trailer in a minute. So we did get news, first off, that they're going to remake The Running Man, which is a movie we just talked about a couple episodes ago. They're going to remake The Running Man. It's going to be directed by Edgar Wright, who did like Shaun of the Dead. And it's going to star Glenn Powell of Top Gun Maverick. He's in the new Twisters movie. He's kind of hot stuff right now. A lot of people are penciling in him to be the new Cyclops in live action X-Men.
Nice.
I've seen some pictures and it's like, man, he does kind of look like Cyclops, so that kind of works.
Yeah,
but
he's like a lovable tool bag.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so anyway, a Running Man remake, modern. That might actually be pretty cool. That's a remake. I just hope we don't get RoboCop or Total Recall, right? So, the next one we got a trailer for, and they talked about it, is the upcoming M. Night Shyamalan movie, which we're going to talk more about him here shortly. Trap with Josh Hartnett. I think I saw a comment that said, "I am here for the Josh Hartnett Renaissance, 100%." Because obviously he had a big role in Oppenheimer. He was great in it, and now he's got a starring role in a upcoming horror movie. But it looks like they're at like a pop concert, him and his daughter, and like it gets surrounded by cops, and they're trying to catch a serial killer. And the trailer makes it look like he's the serial killer that's scared of the cops. But it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. You never know. There could be more to it. So, but that looks really cool.
When you sent me that trailer, that was the very first thing I said. Josh Hartnett, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
here for it. So.
I know. And then the last thing I wanted to just touch on was Lionsgate announced that they're partnering with Jason Blum and Blumhouse. They're going to do, they're bringing back the Blair Witch. And nobody knows what it's going to be like. Found footage. Is it going to be another sequel? I don't know, but they're partnering together to do something with the Blair Witch Project. So I'm kind of excited to
Amazing.
hear more about that. So then the other stuff I had was we took it off of our movie list because we had to delay a week, but we were supposed to do episode 46 was going to be Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, but it's not going to be now. But I did get the chance to go see that over the weekend. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Great. True story during World War II. Obviously, it's embellished with a lot more humor and action than probably actually happened.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's really violent. Boy, the cast is great. Like, everybody's awesome. Henry's great. Alan Ritchson's great. The entire cast is awesome, but I would definitely recommend that. Go see it. I mean, if I had to rate it, I'd give it an 8 right now. So
Nice.
great movie.
How did it do box office wise?
Finished like 4th at the box office over the weekend and made like $8.7 million. So
come on, guys, go see our Lord and Savior Henry. Keep him relevant.
Yeah. After Argyle, man, I feel bad for the dude. So
yeah.
Anyway, and then I got to talk about 2 more things that are kind of related. We actually got a trailer today for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Swing.
A new trailer. Oh,
swing,
we see Hugh Jackman full costume. I didn't have the headpiece on, but I know we've seen that promotional material. He's going to have it on at some point. But there's no sleeves, which everything we'd seen was full sleeves, and there's no sleeves.
We talked about that.
Yes, we did.
Said, just give us the no sleeves.
Oh, there's so many cool little Easter eggs too, like Lady Deathstrike's in the trailer. There's like Cassandra Nova's the bad guy. You can tell she's a newer X-Men villain, but she's pretty badass if you don't know who that is. And then her base in the movie is like a giant Ant-Man skull, which is just insane when you see it, but
cool.
Hyper violent, tons of cussing. I mean, basically the tagline of the movie is "Let's fucking go."
Yeah,
it sounds like.
It's funny because when we got to the point of the trailer where they both said "Let's fucking go," I think I had already said it like 2 or 3 times during the trailer. Like, let's fucking go! This looks fucking awesome.
So, but I don't want to dive into too many Easter eggs, but I'm hyped, and
dude,
I literal goosebumps watching the trailer. I'm excited for it. So
it's a couple of things X-Men wise. So one, everybody loves Hugh Jackman. Everybody loves Hugh Jackman Wolverine. In the last 2 movies, we've been really letting him like cut loose and be like ruthless and brutal.
Yes.
Logan. Now we're getting this, and it's like it's kind of like fuck. I wish we could have had this
when he was younger.
Wolverine the whole time when he was younger.
Yeah.
But I saw a post the other day, and it's more kind of pertinent to X-Men 97, the show, that I totally agree with. I don't hate Hugh Jackman, but the post said like the one thing the live action X-Men movies got wrong is making Wolverine like everything. Or they said what the new live action X-Men needs to do to get right is that it can't all be about Wolverine, like, and that X-Men 97 has reawakened that people like Cyclops and Gambit and Storm like are fucking cool, and that's what the focus needs to be.
So the showrunner that got fired right before it came out, I think his name's Bo DeMaio, right?
Yeah.
And he wrote episode 5, which this actually was going to talk about X-Men 97. That was going to be the next thing I was going to talk about.
Sorry.
Because we haven't talked about it since episode 5 came out. But anyway, he wrote episode 5, but he sent out a tweet that said he was the one that started what you just talked about. He actually wrote a tweet that said, when we wrote X-Men 97, we wrote it where Wolverine's not the X-Men, he's part of the X-Men. And that's exactly what the show is getting right. And and listen, I totally understood what 20th Century Fox was trying to do with the movies and stuff. Like, he at the time, he was Marvel's most popular character other than Spider-Man, right? Like, that's Wolverine was. He's huge. Like, growing up, he was everywhere when I was growing up, right? Like,
for sure.
Same as you. Yeah, totally. So you're dead on there. So going into where X-Men 97 is at right now, I said this to you, and I've said this to anybody that I've talked to. Episode 5 of X-Men 97 is the single greatest thing Marvel TV has put out ever. I'm not even joking. I'm like, I watched it, like, I think I've watched that episode 4 times.
It's so good.
So good. And all the other episodes are good too. Don't take away from any of that. That half-hour episode is insane.
Yeah.
If you're not watching X-Men 97, you need to. It might be the greatest animated television show ever.
Dude, it's
in the top 2.
Yes.
I'm not kidding. And you know what the other one is.
I love that it's like the show is like sparking this, like, let's continue shows that from the past. Like, let's not just do the X-Men. Because if you do it right, like, it can be amazing. Episode 5 was so... It's the arc of the episodes have been interesting because the episode 4 was not like epically
Episode 4 was a
insane.
filler episode.
Yeah, like there's 100%. Some filler episodes in there, but I like the filler episodes because like everything doesn't always feel like world ending, and you still got some character development with like Jubilee. We got to see some cool callbacks to like X-Men video games, like the arcade game, and which was great. But like if you watch 4 and then oh shit, like I think when we watched it there was multiple oh shits and then fucking oh my god, what just happened when it ends. And it ends on a very somber note of like fuck. Wow. So
yeah, and then 2 days later, I went and bought Uncanny X-Men 266 First Appearance of Gambit.
Yeah,
for that reason.
Gambit gets his GOAT level episode.
And you're right, though. Like every episode of that show, there's been like we talked about like Cyclops in that first episode with the like where he's sliding back using his powers that way, or where the fucking superhero landing. Insane, right? We talked about episode 3 where Bishop gets to like be a badass and like blast all those demons away. Like we talked about Storm obviously has this awesome story arc that started in episode 2, episode 4, and then kind of concluded in episode 6. Like honestly, just about everybody except Wolverine's had an awesome like story arc so far. I mean, they really have. I mean, I'm sure his is coming, but
I hope so. I know we just talked about.
Yeah, I don't think they'll leave him as a secondary character. He'll get his moment. I've no doubt he'll get his moment. But man, it's great. Like just watch it.
I will say this: show. The whole time I watched episode 5, my blood was boiling at how much of a Jezebel Rogue is. I can't. She's done. I will never.
But then she kind of redeems herself at the end, right before
dare when the world's ending
goes down. Can we talk about some of the dialogue too? Magneto's fucking poet in that show too. Dude, like, what's the part where he's like, "Rogue, you'll run interference. Gambit, you'll go save the Morlocks," and he said, Nobody will doubt that we." Did our best today, and no, we didn't. We saved as many as we could, or whatever the line of dialogue is.
Well, and he has
awesome.
He has that other line that like he dropped where they're like we can't let a terrorist
run the country. Terrorists run the country.
Yes. So he said,
no, and then he says what?
Be a president, and then he says, well, he says something like, will you let your presidents be terrorists or do terrorist things?
He says, we can't let a terrorist run the country. And he said, well, we already have so many countries being run by terrorists or something like it's insane. It's great. Yeah.
It's just like,
watch the fucking show.
Wordsmith. Yeah, we don't fucking know it. Just watch
the show.
God.
Watch the show. But so that's 6 to Midnight, all 22 minutes of it. Lots to talk about. Hopefully that, we had things to talk about. Yeah. And that takes us into our I can't believe you haven't seen it. The 2006 fantasy psychological thriller, Lady in the Water.
Classic.
I was waiting for you to say classic, but
sorry.
So Lady in the Water is a production by Legendary Pictures and Blinding Edge Pictures, and is distributed by Warner Brothers. It was written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. The cast includes Paul Giamatti as Cleveland Heap, Bryce Dallas Howard as Story, Bob Balaban as Harry Farber, Jeffrey Wright as Mr. Dury, Cindy Chung as Young Soon Choi, and also includes other cast members such as Freddie Rodriguez, Bill Irwin, Jared Harris, tons of famous people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, M. Night Shyamalan as Vic Rand himself. The movie was a $70 million production budget. It grossed $72 million and was considered a box office failure.
Made $2 million.
That does not count marketing costs.
I've never done anything in my life to make $2 million. So,
Kyle, tell us all about this movie.
Obviously, I love this movie. It has a special place in my heart. What's interesting is the first time I saw this movie, I never saw a trailer. I had no idea about it. We had watched, this was back in the day where you went and saw a movie in theater, and then you and your brother or your friends, like, look where the movie theater people are, and then you sneak into another movie. So you do 2 movies there. And this was like, I think it was the only movie that was playing right after a movie we had seen. So we walked in.
So you didn't contribute to the $72 million. You stole it.
I've bought it in 10 different ways. Digital, old school DVD, Blu-ray, somewhere in there, which we tried to watch. I have found one of my DVDs of it. We tried to watch it, and it felt like we were watching a black and white
like
show
a Just in the Rabbit Ears.
Yeah, like it looked, the DVD did not,
quality wasn't there
up, so we just bought it digitally. Anyways, I don't know why I love this movie so much. I just do. I think a lot of people hate M. Night Shyamalan's movies because they're so weird, or there was really high expectations because of when he dropped The Sixth Sense on everybody. Obviously, Signs was another freaking amazing movie. So he always has to have these movies with these like weird concepts. And the concept for this movie, I just cling to it. I think it's a cool concept. It's basically, it's in the setting of just a regular old crappy East Coast apartment complex.
Philadelphia, just like all of his other movies.
Really? They're all in Philly? I guess I never really picked up on that.
That's his thing.
So that's interesting. And the other thing I think is interesting about M. Night Shyamalan movies is now that we've gotten like Glass and Split, it's like all of these, now we're all in the same world, or you can see that a lot of them are, or some would be considered. I think all of them are in the same universe. So
I would hate to live in Philly in that fucking world.
Yes, superheroes and freaking mermaids,
psychopaths, mermaids, kids that see dead people.
Yes. Oh my God, that movie terrified me. Okay, so Lady in the Water, it's just a crappy little apartment complex. Cleveland Heap, Paul Giamatti is like, he's not the owner of the building, but he's like the manager of the building. He's a super. So he's making sure like all of the tenants are taken care of. He does like maintenance. He does essentially everything for them. So he lives on site. He lives in a little like pool house right next to the pool. And the pool's in the middle of this like quad of this apartment complex. So anyways, it's essentially, he finds a girl who seems to have snuck in. He thinks that, someone's been swimming in the pool every night. He's finding hair and trinkets and stuff. And he knows someone's sneaking in the pool and people aren't supposed to. And finds this girl who's like a stranger. He doesn't know who she is or how she got there. And basically the movie is Cleveland trying to help Story, is her name, get back home. And what you find out in this just very groundedly normal, boring apartment complex. She tells him that she is a nymph, essentially like a mermaid or sea nymph, and that she comes from a magical world. And when I say it out loud now, it sounds crazy, but that and like it's basically like a storybook of how what there's rules to how she's allowed to leave. She basically has left her magic world to she has to see I forget what the name what they call him, but basically she's coming to meet an important person for the like in the world, and when they see each other it will like awaken in him whatever this greatness is that will change the world. So it's really important for her to see this person. And when she's there, she lives under the pool. She has a little uh essentially like
Pool
Ariel's.
grotto. She's a
Yeah.
grotto.
Yeah, it's like basically Ariel's little underwater pool house from Little Mermaid under the apartment complex pool. But anyway, so the whole movie is Paul Giamatti basically being like, you're not a fucking mermaid, you're not a sea nymph, you're just a freaking girl who needs to go home. And but as he's trying to help her, you meet just the apartment complex just has all these super wacky characters and interesting people and just out there individuals that you meet kind of really early on in the movie, and you just think like, oh, this apartment complex is full of a bunch of weirdos or goofballs or out there characters. And then you find out later on in the movie that all of these the story of Story and getting her home and blah blah blah. So because she's there, basically there is a monster. She's basically like a wolf or like a giant werewolf, grass wolf. I don't know how to explain it, but basically there's a monster who his entire being revolves around like taking out this nymph. So they can't just get her home by getting in an Uber and leaving. They've got to prepare for. As I'm saying all of this out loud.
Yeah, you listening to yourself right now?
This movie sounds fucking bonkers, but I'm telling you, there's a heart in this story.
It is bonkers.
It's fucking crazy. But here, okay, so we kind of got the premise down, and it ends up.
No. You were talking about the giant fucking eagle. You need to keep going.
So the legend or the story, which they do a cool job. One of the apartment, one of the tenants that he meets, when he kind of casually mentions like a sea nymph and like where they would need to go or what they're from, one of the apartment tenants is like, oh, that's sea nymph is from a story of a childhood story from like my background. And so then that throughout the movie, Cleveland continues to go to her to learn like more and more of the story and what to do.
But it's like this Asian college student who speaks English, but her mom doesn't, and her mom's the one that knows the story.
Yes.
So she has to translate, and it's
interesting. So like throughout the movie, he'll learn something and then he'll go and apply it, and it'll be right or it'll be wrong, and then he'll keep going back to try to get help. But anyways, like, so basically for her to get home in this story or this bedtime story is a giant eaglon, as it's called. It's literally just a giant eagle will fly, pick her up, and take her back to her underwater magic world out in the ocean. And you find out that she's not a normal nymph. She's like the queen nymph that basically when she sees this person and it ignites this massive change in the world, she will go back and then become the queen of her people. And she's like, to her, she's like, I'm a clumsy person. Like the rest of the nymphs make fun of me. Like I'm not going to be the queen. But anyway, so now that we got all the wild craziness of that mentioned, the reason why I think this movie is so cool is because it's supposed to be like that, where you're watching it and you're like, you're at an apartment complex. Like you're not a nymph. There's no magic world. This is crazy. And even Paul Giamatti's character is very much like that the whole time. You find out you know something has happened to him because he's a sad man. He seems very sad, very lonely. He has like a wicked like stutter at the beginning and throughout the movie. Um, but you end up finding out like that Paul Giamatti's character, like you found out he's lost his family. Like burglars came in and killed his wife and kids, and so he is basically trying to get through life after dealing with this tragedy, and helping Story is like giving him purpose again. And there's like the score to the movie, I think, is just, it's really good. It's like Hans Zimmer type quality score. I listen to it all the time on my
James Newton Howard, right?
Spotify. Yes, it's like there. It's so good, and there's so much heart to it. And the reason why I love it is because it's like, this is wild. There's no such thing as this thing, but then continually through the movie, things happen that like Paul Giamatti's like, holy shit, like this might actually be real. And it's like he's helping her because he doesn't think it's real, but he's just.
Then he has to start convincing everyone else that it's real, right?
Yes, which it just, all these characters start to eventually get to a point where it feels like they have a calling and a purpose to help her, and they all come together. And anyways, I fucking love this movie. It is such a weird movie, and for whatever reason I love it. And there's like 5 of us out there in the world that feel the same way. So what did you think about the movie? How wild, and were you like, what the fuck the entire time you watched it?
It was, listen, I'll say this, like the performances were pretty good. Some of the characters they don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they're trying to make like the weirdest cast of characters ever. You got the freaking Freddie Rodriguez's character that like he has one strong arm. He just like constantly lifts weights with his one arm.
Yeah,
turns out he's the Guardian at the end, right? Like turns out he's the Guardian. You have the Bob Balaban, the Harry Farber character, which is the new tenant in the building, and he's essentially like a movie critic.
Yeah,
and he's just an ass, and like nobody likes him, and he hates his job, he hates his life, blah blah blah. Yeah. And it's very much like you can tell M. Night Shyamalan's like, F the critics, you know,
a shot at the critics. Yes.
even to the point where it's like nobody dies in this movie. Oh, we're gonna kill that guy though. Yeah. Right? Like we're gonna kill that guy. Does.
Yes.
He's gonna get eaten.
I think that played, I mean, that's not everything, but I think like that really rubbed critics the wrong way, because they were like, oh yeah, like you think we're the worst people ever, you want to hate on us. And then also the other side was that he's in the movie
a ton.
He's actually the most important character that needs to have the awakening to change the world.
He's going to change the world. He's writing this book. They explain it. Like he's writing this book that someday the future leader of the free world is going to read this book. It's going to change his perspective, and he's going to lead the world into peace, basically. And that's why he's so important. He's got to write this book, right? And listen, M. Night Shyamalan's in all of his movies. He always casts himself in some role, like in Signs. He's the one that kills Mel Gibson's wife, right? Like he's in the movie for a minute in that movie, right?
Yeah.
In this movie, he's one of the main characters, and he can't act. Nothing against the guy. I like a lot of his movies. Can't act. It takes a lot away from the movie, trying to make him the central character. Listen, this isn't Mel Gibson directing himself in a movie.
Yeah.
Right? This is M. Night Shyamalan directing himself in a movie. You write stories, you can direct. Leave the acting for the actors in this situation. He would have made...
It wasn't distracting for me the first time I saw it, because at that point in my life, I didn't know that's who it was. I just thought it was another actor. So I didn't even think about it. Now it's all I can see, obviously.
Yeah. It does take away from it. It's one of those things where it's like, he would have made Can you imagine if like him and Jeffrey Wright switched roles?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright's a tremendous actor. and he gets wasted as this, it's not important whatsoever.
He looks so different too. Commissioner
so
Gordon
young.
looks so different in this movie.
Young. Jeffrey Wright's great. But anyway, yeah. Totally different movie, I think, if he doesn't put himself in that position. I think, and the critics, that was their biggest beef with the movie, not to mention the fact that it is different. And listen,
it's so weird.
It went to, and we talked about some of the fun facts, which I know you're going to go over, but like Touchstone and Disney had made his first few pictures, right? They did Sixth Sense, they did Signs, they did Unbreakable. And then when it came time for him to make this and he presented it to them, they're like, we don't get it.
Yeah.
And they never said they weren't going to finance it, but they said, we don't get it. And he got pissed and was like, nah, fine, I'll go somewhere else. Yeah. They were going to give him the money still, but he was so mad that they didn't understand with the story he was trying to tell, that he went to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers made this movie, which is wild to me that again, we're going back to like his ego on this, right? And it's an odd movie. And I understand everything that you say you like about it. I get it. Listen, Paul Giamatti's great. Like the characters in this, I like Bill Irwin. I like Jared Harris, and they're barely in this movie.
Yeah.
I like Bryce Dallas Howard. She's great. They're the acting other than M. Night Shyamalan is not an issue in this movie. They all do a great job. And Paul Giamatti, we've talked about it before. He's probably one of the most underrated actors today. The movie's weird. There's no doubt about it in a lot of different ways. Not just the fantasy stuff, but the human stuff's weird too. It's just weird. Like even the Asian gal, Young Soon Choi, and her mom, like that whole dynamic and like how she translates, those scenes are odd because you're sitting there literally listening to them translate. And it's like, probably could have written this differently. You know what I mean? Like you probably could have cut some of this out and written it differently. It's not a terrible movie, but I understand why the people don't like it. But at the same time, I understand kind of where you're coming from too.
Yeah.
So
nice.
My thoughts.
I'm glad you've watched it though. This is
I'm glad I've seen it.
This is a nerdy movie that I have made a ton of my friends watch it. I'm just like, this movie, like nobody knows that this movie exists really. And it's actually not bad. And again, like, I think for me, watching it now, knowing M. Night Shyamalan, who he is, and like he's all I see. But at the time when I saw it, like that part was not involved of like really M. Night Shyamalan's making himself I did like that character's like, this person's going to write a book. He's really important to the world, not because he is going to be the big important person, but because this book that he's writing that he doesn't think at all is important or going to be a thing. It's just, he just wanted to write this book about the world politics and stuff. But that his book is going to, way down the line, somebody else is going to read it, and that person's going to change the world. I don't know. I thought that was like a cool little like character thing. And then there's kind of M. Night's character lives with his sister. And they there's Story, the nymph, she can kind of tell people the future, or at least what has been told. And she talks about how his sister is going to have a lot of kids, and he's kind of asking like, is this book going to like get me in trouble? Like this is going to hurt a lot of people, or this is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. And basically is told like, yeah, like this book is actually going to get you killed. But your sister, like, just because he was like asking about his sister and if she's going to be happy or something. And she said like, she's going to have 7 kids and you're going to live to see like the first 3 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Which was, when I was like, I don't know. I think that's a cool part. That's a cool part. And then basically my favorite part of the movie is Paul Giamatti. Story gets like attacked by the werewolf thing. The claws are like poison, so the cuts it's like killing her. She's dying, and they have to do this ceremony to heal her. And originally the whole movie Paul Giamatti thinks he's this character called the Guardian, who you mentioned is the half buff guy, half skinny guy. So like the Guardian's supposed to protect the nymph from this monster, and the monster is supposed to basically like be stuck in a trance if he sees the Guardian's like eyes, and that doesn't happen. So like there's kind of a funny moment where Paul Giamatti's like trying to keep this thing from running, and it's not working, and it attacks him, and as he's running and thinks he's going to get killed, like the pool guy shows up and like the monster disappears, so he's just like laying on the concrete like looking like a crazy crackhead. Anyways, my favorite part is you find
the
out
monkeys.
no, the monkeys are in
kidding.
there. The monkeys are great. There are monkeys in this thing too, believe it or not.
We believe it.
The best part is when you find out that he's the healer and he is healing, like going to basically they have to invoke emotion and to be able to try to heal her as all of this ceremony is going on and all these characters around to help. And he to talk about like his emotional stuff. He's not talking about story. He's talking about like his wife and his kids and how he wasn't there for them and how he misses them so much. And Paul Giamatti fucking acts the shit out of this scene.
Yep.
It's very like emotional and tear jerking. It makes me tear up every time. So anyways, this movie's weird as shit. I fucking love it. Fun facts for it. You've got a couple. One thing that I always thought was like interesting is like the story of Lady in the Water itself. It came from like a bedtime story that he had made up for his daughters because they had a pool in the backyard. And so like he had kind of created this story of like a sea nymph, and to which then I think ended up turning it into like an actual children's book.
Yep.
Which released like what you had mentioned
the same day
as the movie. So which I don't know, like I thought that was kind of cool for him. He was like making this movie because it was a cool, shorter, smaller version of a bedtime story he'd made up for his kids, and it was like, I'm going to make a movie about it. So I thought that was cool. Other fun facts, which I had kind of talked about this when we were watching it, like the setting itself, this giant apartment complex, like they built just for this movie.
Yeah, no, that's what took up most of the $70 million budget, was the fact that they built an entire apartment complex for the movie instead of just filming it one.
No.
Whatever. The other fun fact I had, which I thought was an interesting thing, was Michael Bamberger, who's he mostly writes like sport biographies and stuff, which is interesting. But he wrote a book while this movie was getting made called The Man Who Heard Voices, which is he's literally writing a nonfiction book about M. Night Shyamalan making this movie and betting on himself to make this odd fantasy film going against what the studios wanted him to make, and how it could affect his career negatively, and it did.
And it did exactly
he
what
made this,
he was warned about.
And then he made, what was that Will Smith movie, After Earth? He
Oh
made those
God.
two, and
forgot about that.
His career went poo.
After Earth, The Happening, I think was.
Oh my God, I forgot about that movie so bad.
The Happening was.
We could have done the 5 worst M. Night Shyamalan movies. Holy cow.
I think 5 best, 5 worst, depending on who you are, will change exactly how you feel about it. So, for me, it's like a cool movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever, just because Paul Giamatti is fucking amazing, and it's great. I used to be like a big M. Night Shyamalan guy. Like I fucking love his movies, and I think he lost me at The Happening because I thought that was going to be great, and then it was awful, and then it really took a nosedive with like After Earth and.
Oh yeah. So oh my God, I forgot. Oh my gosh, we should have done a bottom 5 list. So he made a couple of indie films, and then he hit big with The Sixth Sense, right?
Yep.
He did The Sixth Sense, then he did Unbreakable, and then he did Signs. Then he did The Village. Okay.
Yep.
So then So then he does Lady in the Water, The Happening, the live action Last Airbender.
Oh shit! I
Right,
forgot
that was
all
the one I
about
just
The
read, and I
Last
was
Airbender.
like, oh, I forgot he did that. And then he did
Yeah.
After Earth. He literally made 4 great movies. The Village is okay. 4 good movies, and
I
then he
think The
made
Village is a lot better than people didn't they weren't expecting it to be what it was because
yeah,
it
that's
was
fair.
marketed like a
Totally
monster
different.
movie.
You're right. Yeah.
And so people were like, what the
Oh,
fuck?
so then he made this, which of those 4 movies is definitely the best one. The Happening's terrible. Last Airbender's terrible, and After
Dude,
Earth is terrible.
the
Holy
happening
cow!
like when you find out in The Happening. So the
That's the
reason I think why I love I love M Night Shyamalan movies is because there's always a weird ass twist, right? Like The
yep.
Sixth Sense, there's a major fucking
Mhm.
twist at the end. Signs, there's, I mean, maybe not necessarily a
It's
big
not super
twist, but
twisty, but yeah, it's the water thing, I guess. Maybe I
yes,
don't know. Whatever.
The Village,
Super twist.
huge twist at the
Unbreakable
end.
had a huge
So
twist too, right?
yes, Unbreakable, huge twist.
Mhm.
So like, there's all of his movies have like this interesting. Usually, early on, we were like,
Yep.
he was just hitting dingers, right? Just hitting it out of the park. And then The Village happened, where the twist was like people weren't expecting it. They wanted a monster movie, and they got a totally different.
So you got a weird one.
Like, yeah, people where you think
It was cool. I thought that was a cool ending. I thought it was cool.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I was younger, so when I first saw it, I wanted it to be a monster movie, and it wasn't a monster movie. I was like, this. I wanted this to be a scary monster movie. But then, after finding out what it was later on in life, I fucking love the concept. You know,
it was cool. It was pretty interesting.
Think you're in this like old ancient, not ancient, but like olden times village,
colonial.
Like colonial pilgrim type time frame, and you find out no, they are just in modern times, living off the grid, and so that just huge interesting twist. But
now
The
after,
Happening,
oh my god, The Happening's garbage.
So The Happening has its twist. Basically, the whole world, people just start killing themselves all over the world, and no one knows why or what. It's like a pandemic, essentially.
Yeah, what's a happening?
They call it a happening, and you end up finding out that it is in the wind from plants. Basically, the world has they're like Thanos. Like the world has gotten out of hand, and they decide to release. Yeah, they release pheromones or something into the world.
Kill some people.
That turns people to just automatically kill themselves. Horrible twist. 2 things from that movie that I thought were cool. One, because basically it's like a movie of him trying to be able to like, what are cool, weird ways of people to kill themselves that would look cool in a movie.
The lawnmower.
The lawnmower. Okay, so we're on the same page there. One is this lawnmower. Basically, this guy, it's like a riding lawnmower is on, and he like walks out in front and lays down and just lets the lawnmower go over him. That was
not
fucking
the way
wild.
I'd want to go.
Yeah, that was wild in the theater. And then I thought there was an interesting like visual, which I think was in the trailer, but they pull into a neighborhood and it's got like a line. It's like one of those like picturesque like neighborhoods where it's just a line of trees going down, and all the trees have like people like put their ladders on the trees to like hang themselves, and it's like fucking fucked up. But that makes me sound like a weirdo. There's just cool. Those things were cool.
I know what you're saying.
Everything else about the movie sucked. It's fucking horrible.
Anyway, we're not talking
Mark
about the
Wahlberg's in it, so
we're not talking about The Happening. But we
anyways,
did.
We did. Sorry. Sorry. Well, I mean, we can give the movie a rating. We can jump into our lists and continue what we're just talking
rating?
About. So, this movie is, it's in my top 10 greatest movies or most favorite movies of all time. This is it's a 9. It's for sure a 9. I'm not going to give it a 10, though. Yes, it is in my favorite movies of all time. there's some things that it could have done differently, but I love this movie. It's a 9 for me. Could very easily be a 7 or a 6 if you weren't into this kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go with a 3. This is going to be your worst rating of all time.
No.
What's your worst rated movie we've done?
I think the original Super Mario Brothers was a 2 or a 3.
Oh, gosh.
Napoleon was a fucking 3.
Oh, so bad. You like Napoleon better than this?
No. I'm not going that low. I'm going to go 5.5.
Okay. I'll be honest with you.
You want to know why it's 5.5?
Over 5. Why?
I give The Flash a 5, and I don't want to do that to this movie.
Oh. We
No,
haven't
ask me
talked
to go.
about The Flash in so long.
I want to go back and re-rate it.
We're bringing it back. The
I'm gonna
Flash
give
is back.
The Flash is getting. And I remember when I know we're talking about it now, but when I gave The Flash the rating, I gave Batman a 5, and the rest of the movie is 0. So the movie got a 5.
God. Fucking, what a fucking horrible movie. This is not The Flash. Don't you dare.
It's not. No, that's why I got a 5.5. That's why I got a 5.5, just because of that movie. Anyway, that's it. That's the 2006 fantasy psychological thriller, Lady in the Water.
Is it worth a one-time watch?
One time.
Right. I'll take that.
Worth
a one-time watch.
That takes us into my favorite segment. There can be only 5.
Only 5.
Oh, boy. See, I made this list like 12 days ago. No, like 15.
Has it changed? Could it have
15
changed?
days ago. A little bit. No.
Gave you more time to...
No, not this list. The other list changed.
Okay. Which one are we doing first?
So we went with, my list was the top 5 M. Night Shyamalan movies. Top 5.
Okay.
Really wish we would have done bottom 5 now that I'm looking at those shit movies. Anyway.
So we could very easily do... We've talked about the bad ones, so we've talked about them.
You're right. All right, top 5 M. Night Shyamalan movies that don't have an honorable mention. I'm going straight 5, no ties, no nothing. Here we go. At number 5, I had Split. That movie, James McAvoy is fucking insane in that movie.
Crazy.
You should watch that movie just for his performance. And listen, is it a great movie? I wouldn't say it's great. It's a good movie, yes. That dude got a raw deal for being in a good movie, not a great movie, because he acted his ass off and deserved everything.
He got fucking jacked. He's massive.
And he's terrifying.
Movie. He's terrifying as the Beast. And I just fucking love that, and we'll talk about when we get to the other movies. I just love the world that Split is in, if that makes sense.
Anyway, I have that at number 5. At number 4, I had The Visit. So The Visit was like that was his comeback movie. After he made four movies in a row that nobody liked, he made The Visit, and I really liked The Visit. It's super creepy, real low budget, real small scale, just 2 kids going to visit their grandparents for a while. Grandma and grandpa are nuts. And then, of course, the twist in that one, if you haven't seen it, don't listen. But the twist in that one is that's not really your grandparents, which I kind of figured out at the beginning, but you didn't realize what had actually happened.
But they're doing super weird, creepy
shit.
If I walked into a room and saw like my grandma just sitting in a chair staring at the wall, that would be fucking creepy.
Or the part where the kid goes under the house in the crawl space, and then he goes around the corner and there's grandma and she's all coming after him, and you're like,
spider walking.
What the?
Dude, that movie is like fucking legit scary.
It's legit scary, and when old people can be scary without being crazy. So it's 10 times worse. Anyway, The Visit at number 4. At number 3, I had Unbreakable. I've talked about Unbreakable before. Unbreakable is one of those movies that, like, the first time you saw it, it wasn't what you thought it was.
Yeah.
Right? And then, like, on repeat viewings, like, It's actually a very good movie, has a cool story, awesome concept, but it's another one of his movies that the trailer, like The Village, like you weren't getting what you thought was advertised. Like it's a totally different movie. And The Village kind of had that same thing. And I like The Village, but Unbreakable I had at number 3. And number 2, I had The Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is a great movie. Like Sixth Sense was nominated for tons of awards. Super scary. The acting's great. It's one of Bruce Willis's actually best acting movies. He's great in it. Like that, even that beginning scene, you know, where it gets shot and it's the flashback. It's Donnie Wahlberg. If you didn't know that, is the one that shoots him. Yeah. Did you know that?
Doesn't look like Donnie. Yeah, I knew that, but he does not
doesn't look anything like him, right? You know, because he wasn't like he didn't make a ton of movies and stuff back then. I mean, he doesn't make a ton of movies now, but he's on like Blue Bloods. But I mean, like back then, it was like, oh, it's former New Kid on the Block, Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah, what's Crazy. He doing in this random ass movie?
Right?
Why does he look like he's never ate a cheeseburger in his life?
Right. And then Haley Joel Osment's awesome in that movie. Toni Collette's amazing in that movie. She's super underrated.
When was the last time you watched that movie?
I actually watched it with Reagan in the last year. I don't remember when it was, but it was within the last year. It's still, it holds up. It's a good movie.
It's been years since I've seen that movie.
Creepy as shit.
It's fucking creepy. There are multiple fucking creepy ass scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then number 1, one of the scariest movies I have ever seen. Signs. Like, amazing. Joaquin Phoenix, Mel Gibson. Man, both those kids. He's the 4th youngest Culkin kids in it. Like, fucking wild. Bro. That movie's wild. We've talked about that movie several times, so I'm not going to go into a ton of details with it. The jump scares in that, like, I lived rural when that movie came out. Like, I had one of my best friends that I went and saw that with lived next to a cornfield. He still talks about how scared he was that night after we went and saw it, like laying in his bed, like hearing the corn rustling. Oh, like, that's... That movie holds up and it is awesome. And I love it.
The greatest like alien invasion movie ever, right? Or like could be, or I guess what would you even classify
it is to me. Yeah. I mean,
Independence Day is pretty fucking great, and so is Mars
Independence
Day,
a totally different genre. There was a movie that was really good and it was super low budget, but it was actually by the guy that did Blair Witch, the original Blair Witch Project. And it's called Altered. I think that's what it's called. And it's like, I don't even think it was in theaters, but it's actually a really cool, like, alien movie that's creepy, but worth a watch some night if you're bored.
Yeah. Love that. As you were talking about your list, like, it was a reminder of why M. Night Shyamalan, like, became so big and so revered as a director and writer, because he started off
hot,
fucking crazy good. Like The Sixth Sense, there are scenes from that movie that are burned in my brain that scare me. The fucking the person hanging in the school.
Oh, in the school, yeah.
The fucking, oh my God, the girl in the tent who's like throws up like chicken soup. The fucking mom that walks by as he's going pee.
And her face is all...
like fucking...
Or the kid like, oh, let me show you where my dad hides his gun. He turns around and back his head's missing.
Bro, I just got the goosebumps as you said that.
You got the chills.
That movie, because I was young. I was a kid when that movie came out. It scared the fuck out of me. I shouldn't have seen that movie at the age that I did. And because I did, it is... fucking ingrained in my brain. So
the thing with M. Night Shyamalan, and like, he started off hot. Like, there was that, then there was Unbreakable, then there was Signs. Like, those are like his first 3 studio films, right?
Yeah.
And he never got back to that level. And I know you like Lady in the Water, but he's never gotten back to that level. Yeah. He never has. So his first 3 movies, and like, you can say Split and Glass, they're not it's not the same, right? Like, it's not.
Sixth Sense and Signs both were like a phenomena. Like, like the whole world talked about those movies when they came
Right.
out. Like the I See Dead People was like, that's a
Anybody says that, you know what it's from.
Yes, forever all time like memorable movie line from that movie. So and then Signs, obviously people fucking, that is a scary movie that maybe people don't remember it specifically for being scary, but
The jump scares are pretty epic in that movie.
that fucking alien going by that kid's party, I swear to God, I saw an alien that day. Like I fucking, in my bones, I thought I saw
I can tell you right now, the major jump scares in that movie. The part where he's in his kid's bedroom and he looks up across the roof of the barn and it's standing there. The part where he's in the cornfield and the flashlight battery goes out and he shakes it and he points and there's the leg.
Fucking leg
right?
goes by.
I'm getting goosebumps now. And then
dude, yes,
obviously,
fucking scary.
Right, the birthday party's the worst one.
For sure.
And then the part in the basement.
Move, kids. Vamonos. Vamonos.
The part in the basement, right, where the hand is like comes out of the coal grate. And I think the best one, other than the birthday parties, where he like looks under the door and the hand. My God.
He fucking cuts the fingers off. God, what a fucking. I think that you bring up a part that I think is very underrated is people don't talk about that when he sees him on the roof behind and they fucking run outside and they're chasing him around outside. That's wild, fucking wild. So,
and then of course the alien that he cuts the fingers off of is the one with his kid at the end, right?
Yes.
Like because it's missing the finger.
Yeah, and what a great twist! So again, this is why that movie was so memorable, and those early movies were, because the twists were so great. Remember, freaking the brother, he was like a failed pro baseball player,
right?
Who all he was known for was swinging away,
striking out,
and his wife or his sister-in-law telling him to swing away, and then that's what he ends up doing because the one kid leaves water cups everywhere because they are contaminated. Man, great twist. Great movie. Here's my list.
Okay.
Number greatest M. Night Shyamalan movies of all time. Number 5, I had Unbreakable. I did not know this movie. Like, I didn't think it was good when I saw it. I didn't really get it. I didn't understand it. And then I got older and went back and watched it. It's like one of the coolest comic book movies that nobody knows is a comic book movie. There's literally an evil villain and a guy who calls himself Mr. Glass. His bones he has a condition that would basically you breathe or sneeze on him and his bones are going to break. And he thinks that if there's someone like me in the world, there has to be an exact opposite. And he was a big comic book nerd. And so, which is Samuel L. Jackson. And he goes, if there's a Mr. Glass in the world, there's got to be a Superman. And so he creates like world disasters that kill thousands of people because he's trying to find someone who's invincible, or unbreakable, I guess, as we would call it, since that's the name, which he finds out is who Bruce Willis is. And then that, like, there's a villain and a hero, and I wanted that story to go on. And then obviously we got movies later on in life that were fucking great. Unbreakable, great fucking comic book movie. Number 4, I have a tie from Split and Glass. So basically, years later, movies that got them back in were Split came out. It's about freaking James McAvoy. He's got 14 personalities, and all of them are trying to keep down the one giant personality that is literally he evolves into like a giant monster called the Beast. You don't know it until the very end, but it seems like it would be a cool character for a superhero to fight. And then boom, you find out this is in the world of Unbreakable. I think Bruce Willis is in a diner at the end.
That's exactly right.
They pop him up just to be like, yep, we're in that world. So then it's like, now the Unbreakable character, Bruce Willis, has Mr. Glass, but now he's got the Beast. And then they really leaned into it and said, now we're going to do a movie with all 3 of them. And you got them all 3, and it was fucking great. Great movie. 4, tied at 4, Split and Glass. You have to watch them. Number 3, I have Lady in the Water, though it's on my greatest movies that I love of all time. It's not, I wouldn't say it's M. Night Shyamalan's best, but Lady in the Water is my number 3. Number 2, I have Sixth Sense, just like you. It's my number 2 movie of his. We've talked about it already, but fucking terrifying movie. And it's been years since I've seen it, so now I want to go watch it again. But yeah, Sixth Sense, terrifying. And then number 1, his best movie ever that will forever be remembered. If he doesn't make a good movie for the rest of his life, he made this one, and it mattered. Signs. Man, fucking amazing. Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, M. Night Shyamalan got together and made a legendary movie. So, yeah.
I can't believe that movie's not as like well remembered as like you and I remember it. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it, honestly though, God, there was a movie that we've talked about that we didn't realize people loved as much as they do. Oh, like when we were at Comic-Con and we were like, man, everyone's going to talk about Marvel, when we wished that people loved A Knight's Tale. And then like, that's literally what everybody was talking about was A Knight's Tale. It's the same with Signs. I think people like look back and remember the exact same things that were scary that we thought, but it's not brought up in conversations as like
it
one
doesn't
of the best
feel like
scary
it.
movies. So, does that make sense?
No, I'm with you. That's the thing. I just don't like. It feels like it should be in the same level as the Sixth Sense is talked about. That's the way I feel. Like
for sure,
it's not. It's not even close.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's jump into the next list, which was I was just thinking of like, man, Lady in the Water, it's a movie I love, but everybody hates. And I thought, let's do a list of top 5 movies that everybody hates, but you love.
Or, I called it Guilty Pleasures.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. This was a very interesting list. These movies are fun to me, and this could be 5 totally different movies depending on the day for me. I did have one honorable mention, and I have it as an honorable mention because I think most people love this movie, but I know it gets talked about as a joke. So I didn't want to put it on the list, but I didn't want to mention it. Armageddon. I fucking love Armageddon. Another Bruce Willis movie. Ben Affleck, 400 other actors that are amazing. Armageddon might have been like a goofy, cheesy movie, but it was fucking awesome. And I will stand by that.
I'm with you 100%.
And then number 5, this movie, I really liked it, and people talk about like it's the worst thing ever to the franchise. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Are you angry?
No, I know why people don't like that movie. I don't like it either.
The cartoon blinky eye sounds.
I know you like that movie, and I've tried watching it again. I can't.
I like it. I have, obviously, I'm a big actor, Shia LaBeouf fan.
Maybe that's it.
And that's probably why we were getting Indy back. And I thought the setup for Shia to become the new Indiana Jones, like I would have bought that franchise. But I like that movie. And then number 4, I don't think people really remember that this franchise was a thing or these movies came out, but the Clash of the Titans movies.
Oh my God, yes.
Or movie.
Have you seen the original?
Like it's like
from the 80s or like early 70s?
Oh, I haven't seen. I know I've seen scenes of it because there's cool like cinematography and set pieces that they did. Yeah.
I have it on Blu-ray.
I've never watched the original, but I fucking love Sam Witwerth, right? Sam. What's his name?
Oh my God!
Jesus, I should have looked this up before.
No,
the guy from Avatar.
Worthington, Sam Worthington. I'd have to look it up. I knew it would take me a minute.
The guy from Avatar,
Terminator Salvation.
Yes. I fucking loved the Clash of the Titans, and then there's the Wrath of the Titans is the other one, but it's
Greek mythology.
Yeah, it's Greek mythology. Perseus or Odysseus, one of the two of those. It's fucking
It's
I
Perseus.
thought they were awesome, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody hated them, but they were
No,
good
that first
enough.
one rocks.
Yeah, they were good enough that they made a second one, and the first one was way better than the second one.
Wait.
And then number 3, a Zack Snyder movie that I think people forget is in Zack Snyder's movie library, but Sucker Punch.
Mm.
Have you ever seen Sucker Punch?
I saw it once a very long time ago, and I remember it was awesome, but I don't remember a lot about it. I don't know if maybe I was drinking that night.
Yeah.
I need to see it again.
Dude, Sucker Punch. Okay, so this is pre Justice League, pre Batman versus Superman, where everybody turned on him and hated him. It was still in the world of like 300 came out. It was a
Dawn
comic
of the
book and a
Dead.
movie.
Yeah.
Yes. So it felt like a comic book movie. It felt like an anime comic book movie. Like it fucking Oscar Isaac is one of the main bad guys in it.
Yeah.
Like fucking badass giant like video game samurai bosses fighting like super hot like GI Jane schoolgirl soldiers. Like it's cool because they go into their like into the fantasy world like for different versions. Like one they're soldiers and then another she's like a fucking samurai, and each one is fucking cool. It's super stylized and just like a comic book. So it's definitely worth a rewatch in terms of just like a cool like dude movie, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Dude movie about nothing but girls as the main characters. So
fine.
Sucker Punch, I fucking love that movie. Number 2, this man is making his second appearance on my list. Terminator Salvation.
Yeah.
I fucking love Christian Bale, Sam Worthington Terminator movie. I know people didn't like it and they thought it was supposed to like have its whole own franchise, and then they didn't touch it after that. I fucking loved it. The trailer for me is one of the coolest trailers. The 9 Inch Nails, like the day the world ends or something. The song that they use is fucking awesome. One of the coolest movie trailers ever. Badass movie. Christian Bale is John Connor. And then number 1, I'll fucking talk about this movie till I'm blue in the face, and you can tell me it's one of the greatest flops of all time, and I will tell you I will watch it once a year. Waterworld. Waterworld is, I fucking love Waterworld. It's in with like Shawshank, that if it's on my TV, if it's the last 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes, or the middle, it's gonna be on my TV and I'm gonna watch it. It's fucking super cool, and the concept is amazing. And I fucking nerd out about Waterworld.
I dig it.
We had a different list, didn't we?
We did. We have one movie that matches, which is fine because this is all over the place. For an honorable mention, I did just put Friday the 13th down. I can watch any of those movies
just
at any given point. I put the franchise. Pick one of them. Honestly, other than the first one, not my favorite. But I'll watch Jason kill a bunch of freaking 20-somethings anytime for no reason whatsoever. Don't give a shit.
Does the first one count? Do we even count that in the franchise?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one that started it. But
I know, but like, there's no Jason.
Yes, it's dumb.
It's weird.
I didn't like it. And then, of course, it's the one everybody thinks of the most. Anyway, I just put that down as honorable mention because I love those movies and I'll watch them anytime.
Love it.
So, and number 5, I had the Tommy Lee Jones movie Volcano.
Oh, dude.
If you've never seen Volcano, you're going to see a theme. I like disaster movies a lot.
Yes.
I did not have Armageddon on my list because I feel like it's viewed positively enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I totally would, right? Like I put Armageddon and Independence Day to me are here. Like I think they're liked enough, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had Volcano, basically like Tommy Lee Jones is like the director of like disasters for Los Angeles, and a volcano literally comes out of the La Brea tar pits in downtown LA and like destroys. It's wild.
It's like
The
it's like the other Dante's Peak, right?
they came out the same year. It was like
Yeah.
Armageddon and what's the other with Deep Impact? Like it's like
Yes.
that where two movies with similar plots come out in the same year. Anyway, yeah, Volcano's the one that I choose out of the two. At number 4, I had Terminator
Outstanding.
Salvation. I'm with you. Listen, after 1 and 2, it's my third favorite Terminator movie. I don't know why it gets the hate that it does. I think it's a really good movie. I would have liked to have seen more stories in that universe.
Dude. Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Sam Worthington, Christian Bale, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Dude,
let's go.
Give us Christian Bale where he's not like where everyone believes him to be like the soldier, the general we want to follow.
Yes.
Like we were like just leading up to it. So
yeah, give me that movie. I'll watch it anytime. At number 2, I had Solo, a Star Wars story. It's one of the most hated Star Wars movies. I actually enjoy it. I've said that before. I'll watch Solo. I think it's a good movie. I know most people have beef because it's not Harrison Ford. I have no issue with the actor whatsoever. I thought he was fine. It's definitely a younger Han Solo. He's not as grizzled and cynical as we're used to, but I didn't have any problems with the movie. I actually enjoyed it. Plus you get Darth Maul again at the end. So
dude, that's a good point. It's like Rogue One. That little Sith at the end makes a difference.
Yeah, and I didn't mind that movie. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I liked Solo anyway.
Okay.
At number 2, I had The Core. Have you ever seen The Core?
Yes. Yes. Where they fucking ride like a...
They have to drill into...
all the way down to...
The center of the Earth has stopped spinning. And like it's creating like all these like solar events on Earth and everything's messed up. People are dying, whatever. They got to restart. Otherwise the world's going to burn up. They got to restart the core. And and the cast is insane too.
I was going to say, what's the cast of that?
Hilary Swank, Aaron Eckhart, Delroy Lindo, Stanley Tucci, like whatever. It's a great movie. It's terrible, but I like it. It's super cheesy, but
that's awesome.
And number 2,
seen that in a very long time.
Yeah, I will watch that once a year for sure. I will watch The Core.
Yes. The Core.
The Core.
Nice.
And then my like all-time favorite disaster movie, I have it number 1 on my list. That's another disaster movie because that's my thing. The Day After Tomorrow is number 1.
God.
I fucking love that movie. I love that movie.
Oh my God.
I will watch that.
That's amazing. I don't remember that movie being like good at all. Like
it's fantastic.
I don't.
Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid's dad. Fucking disasters everywhere. There's tornadoes. There's like huge ice age starts. I love that movie. I'll watch it 100 times. I'll watch it right now. I will turn on
and rewatch it.
I will turn on The Day After Tomorrow if I'm bored and I'm just sitting on the couch and I want something I don't give a shit to pay attention to. I will put in The Day After Tomorrow.
That's amazing. I thought you were gonna put like Event Horizon or something on here as a movie.
I think it's a good movie.
I think generally people love that movie. So
that's a creepy ass movie.
The Core and The Day After Tomorrow. I was not expecting.
I like disaster movies, man. 2012 almost made the list, but it didn't.
Oh my God. So you said Day After Tomorrow and I immediately thought of 2012 and freaking what's his name?
John Cusack.
John freaking Cusack, the limo driver trying to survive.
Limo driver. The stories about the limo driver.
I can't. I love it. I love it. This is why I like these lists because we talk about movies that like when I hear them, I'm like, holy shit, I forgot the movie existed and I didn't know anybody loved it. So this is great. Mine wasn't anything fun. You brought
giant tidal wave that like takes New York and then the Statue of Liberty's like up to ice, like up to her chest.
Dude, the tidal wave was like, that was the call to action in the trailer. Like that was the main thing of the movie that I was excited to see.
Or downtown LA where there's like 8 tornadoes going off at the same time.
I do remember that. Man, actually maybe that movie was more memorable than
it's fucking awesome.
remember. So Fucking great. Love it.
Anyway, that's it. That takes us to the end of episode number 45 of the Movie Dads podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please click that like and subscribe. Click the bell, get notifications when new episodes come out. You can also find us on many other podcast networks, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many others. Got you there. You can also see some of our short clips and videos on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We will be back next week, episode 46. Big premiere movie of the week. Actually came out this week, but we're going to watch it this week. We already did part 1 back in December. Rebel Moon, part 2, The Scargiver. Zack Snyder's Netflix sci-fi epic. If you haven't watched part 2 yet, check it out. We're going to watch it this week and review it. We already did part 1. Watch it. It's very Star Wars-esque with very much Zack Snyder's style. So,
yeah. I want to hear what your movie that you love that everybody hates. Comment that movie.
Ooh, yeah.
Tell us that movie. I want to see some of these.
Your guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Movie guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Nothing weird. Nothing. Don't be weird. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see you next week.
Bye.